Hi cuties. So this is probably the most random game I've ever decided to review on this channel, but I had to get on here and discuss it with y'all because it is genuinely a hidden gem in my eyes. Sims 2 on the PSP specifically, yep, and if you don't already know, this is like a completely different video game than the PC counterpart. I'ma just be honest with y'all too, like Sims on PC isn't typically my swag, simply because I like my games to give me a little direction and a purpose, you know what I mean? I'm really not too good at playing God, so this summama bitch is right up my alley. When I was a young whippersnapper, this was one of the few games I got with my blue PSP 3000 from GameStop, and although I was too young to really know what the fuck a woohoo was, I still had a blast playing it because it's such a funny and unique experience. Back in these good old days of the early 2000s, we had spin-offs and ports of games all with the same name but completely different depending on which console you played on. A phenomenon that I actually made a whole video on before, so if you want to giggle and fart, please go check that out. So yeah, this port of Sims 2 on the PSP was no exception. It was entirely unique, and sure, there were other handheld Sims games on the Game Boy and DS and such, but only certain things carried over between them. Also, I am sad to report there's like zero development history behind this PSP version. Like, we really only know it was made by Amaze Entertainment / Maxis, who went on to develop Sims Mobile, and that's really it. And I feel that adds to the creepy ass aura of this game, so to speak. So at the start of Sims 2 PSP, you get to create your sim and your neighbors with not that many options, I'll be honest, but you do get this really cool cutscene of your sim driving through the desert, and you see that iconic flying green diamond. Apparently it's called the Plum Bob. I don't know who named that. Anyways, your sim gets distracted, the car breaks down, and you end up meeting this silly little mechanic bastard named Oscar Del Fuego, who's obsessed with art for some reason. But this conversation with him kind of serves as the introduction to the dialogue mechanic, no pun intended, in this video game. PSP Sims 2 almost has an RPG approach to dialogue. Now, it's not Baldur's Gate 3 with the writing, but it is pretty hilarious. While your car is getting fixed up by the mechanic, you can start interacting with other Sims at the service station, including the one and only Bella Goth herself, and this is where the minigames begin. A lot of the problems in this game are going to be solved with dialogue, so there's a few options to get secrets out of people. You can scare the shit out of them with intimidation, you can chat them up, or simply riz them. It starts up a little mini game where the other sim will pop up a little speech bubble that has a certain logo, and you gotta quickly match that logo with the same thing or at least something similar, as you can see right here. I'll be honest with y'all, it's not the hardest mechanic in the world, however, it is a really fun way of going about it instead of just sitting there and watching a meter fill up or some shit. Once you get those secrets out of people, there are vendors all across the map that'll buy them off you for some simoleons, and you use that very same currency to buy Bella Goth's home off of her because apparently it's haunted as shit, and that's why she running away. When you go back outside, you realize the entire mechanic shop, including your automobile, has disappeared into oblivion, naturally. And that's kind of where the wacky shit starts happening in this game. I'm aware that The Sims is no stranger to oddities like aliens, ghosts, zombies, and things of that nature, but this game is absolutely batshit insane, y'all. I mean, for instance, once you make your way to the haunted house that Bella Goth gifts you, one of the main quests immediately has you digging up remains to set the spirits free out of your new crib. I mean, bro, that shit traumatized me as a kid. The whole entire neighborhood is super wacky, too. There's dying husbands, robotic girlfriends, somebody named Dr. Dominion who overtakes your sim through mind control and forces you to create a statue for a cult who worships cow shit. I mean, bro, do I need to say more? Like, what the fuck kind of crack were these EA devs smoking back then? Cause I want to hit. Also, if you need some extra simmy bucks, there's a whack-a-mole ass game mode at night where you go to the neighborhood's graveyard and smack zombies on the cranium to send them back into the grave. All in all, you can tell this game was a real passion project for the devs back then because the writing is absolutely hilarious, and the plotline has to be the best I've seen in the Sims franchise ever. But I'll be the first to admit, Jack the Ripper has not played every single one of them front to back. So while you're out gallivanting through Strange Town playing throughout the day and such, you still need to worry about typical sim stuff like bladder, stench, hunger, and all that, but also, you have to make sure you're doing your daily sanity quests, and these are essentially challenges where it simply wants you to do a random thing like advance a friendship or develop your cooking skill, maybe have a little stanky woohoo sesh. In turn, this will allow you to communicate and complete actions easier as you navigate quests through the 6 unique different areas to fuck around in. There's your neighborhood, Paradise Place, a literal ghost town named Dead Tree, and even an Area 51 style zone titled Division 47, feature complete with a bunch of aliens. A bunch of returning characters are sprinkled throughout the game, like the Queen Bella Goth who I mentioned earlier, but most of the random Sims sprinkled about can become your roommate at the haunted crib, and they'll even help you pay bills. I mean, this game is just so damn cool, y'all. I mean, lest we forget, y'all, they squeezed all this shit into the tiny little PSP. And yep, the frames may drop here and there, but I'll take quality over fidelity any day of the week. If you are someone who has never played a Sims video game before because it either seemed too daunting or perhaps God simulators aren't your swag, I'm telling you, Sims 2 on the PSP might be the one to check out. You're only controlling one person, knocking off a bunch of super fun and hilarious quests, all while making sure you don't shit your britches and end up dying of a headache. I will say, if you're one of those Sims elitists who love to take control and get married with 14 kids and shit, I think this game might be a little bit of a letdown, as none of that stuff is present here. It's simply a set of quest lines for your Sim to complete and not much room for choice, I'll say. Oh yeah, that sanity that I mentioned earlier, you rack up sanity points that double as your perk upgrading system, and also your lifeline. When you watch the TV so damn hard it gives your Sim a brain aneurysm that kills them. Sims 2 on PSP is just an uncanny, eerie-ass video gaming experience that I really love to revisit after all this time. And I'm glad to report it's even more fun now than it was as a kid, because I actually have reading comprehension now. I really miss back in these good old days when it felt like EA still had a soul, you know? I mean, they really did not have to make this completely different game on one handheld console that is this detailed and fun, but they still chose to, and I applaud them for it. I would love to see The Sims go back to more linear style spin-offs like this instead of the modern day DLC slopfest that The Sims 4 has become, especially since they just went on record stating that they're pretty much not going to drop Sims 5 anytime soon, which is nuts. If you are interested in this game, I highly recommend checking it out. If you got a PSP and love to collect physical media such as myself, it's really cheap on the secondhand market, but I recommend emulating it simply because there were a few technical issues like frame drops and longer loading screens. But if you don't give a shit about that type of stuff, please pull the trigger on this hidden gem ass PSP port. But yeah, that's really all I got on Sims 2 for the PSP. Thank y'all so much for like 822 subs right now, I believe. That number has increased dramatically in the past few days. Y'all gonna make me cry, come on y'all. And I just appreciate the love in general. I'm just doing what I love to do over here for you, my cuties. That's about it though. Drop a plumb bob on the like button, perhaps woohoo that subscribe, and I love you guys. Bye!